Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm coming to you live today. I've got actually today's video is a little bit of a pretty sad story. I saw this story that just came out on the news, and it's about a pregnant Lyft driver in Arizona that was actually murdered by her passenger. So, I think I read this story, and it really kind of was just super sad. And for some reason, I think I wanted to go live and just chat about it. I saw a video from Rideshare driver Dustin, and he had some good thoughts. So I wanted to kind of quickly go live, let you guys know about this story, because definitely, I think we all have been out there, and it can be, definitely dangerous job at times. And so sort of talk about some of the things that you can do to potentially protect yourself, sort of what happened with this story. But I don't know, man. I really like this story. Really, obviously, it's a sad story, and sad things happen all the time, every day. But when I saw this story, it really was really sad for me. So I'll leave a link right now in the show notes if I can figure it out. I'm on my phone right now, but let's see if I can figure out how to leave. Hey, let me try this. Does this sound? I don't know if I actually know how to leave a comment on. There we go. Live chat. All right, well, you guys can take a look. I'll leave a link in the description of the video. But yeah, if you type in like Lyft driver or pregnant Lyft driver, that was really the sad part for me too. This was in Arizona, I believe it was Tempe. And this driver was, it was like an early Sunday morning. Driver went to pick up the passenger, just like any, let me hold the phone there, maybe that's better. Any normal ride, and this passenger, the 20-year-old guy, not a lot of information about his motives or anything like that, but seemed like he was, kind of just, something, hopefully something was wrong with him and he just didn't kind of randomly do this. But, it looks like we've got some comments coming in. Kevin says, we got a terrible risk of something going wrong. And yeah, definitely, I think as drivers, there is definitely, it can be a dangerous job. You're transporting people late at night. And I think one of my, when I saw this story, one of my recommendations, I don't know how much it would have helped in this situation, but a dash cam for sure. It's not going to prevent everything, but I think when people do know that they're on camera, and when you have a dash cam, it tends to just make things a little bit safer for drivers, for sure. So I'm curious to know what you guys think about this story. I'm going to do a relatively short live session today, maybe only 10 or 15 minutes about this story. So if you guys do have questions, definitely let me know. And let's see if I can pull up the chat right now and see what everyone has to say. So, Keith says even bad things can happen in the daytime. And Leslie, no, this wasn't in Los Angeles. It was in Tempe, Arizona, I believe. Terrell says, this is why I prefer food delivery over rideshare. Leslie says, dash cam, I'm doing ASAP. And yeah, like I say, right, dash cam, if someone could obviously still do something, but I think that if you have a dash cam, it can definitely potentially prevent passengers from, kind of acting up in the first place. And hopefully you'll never have to, encounter this type of situation. I'm not sure where she picked him up. I believe it said in the story that she picked him up from his home. And Keith says, I've got the Vantrue N2 Pro. So yeah, this is the camera that I now use and recommend. When I first started driving about 5 years ago, I used the, Falcon F360, but now I think the Vantrue N2 Pro is definitely one of the top cameras out there. Really clear quality. I've actually been able to pull license plates off the front. It's got cool features. So definitely recommend that. You will have to kind of follow your local laws and regulations, but definitely recommend Vantrue N2 Pro or any dash cam really if the option is between having one or not having one. So let's see, what did you guys say? The time of the incident. So there hasn't been a lot of information released yet about this incident, I think because it's so sensitive. The driver was a Lyft driver and she was also pregnant. So that's what I think really, I've got a 1-year-old son at home, and I think that's what really hit home for me. I guess this driver actually also had 2 children at home. It was just all around, honestly, I kind of almost teared up when I heard this story. It was so sad. And so I think that talking about the dash cams, where to go, or the time of the incident, it was early Sunday morning, and kind of like you guys know, right? You can't predict where passengers are going or who you're going to get. Jonathan says cams are a very strong deterrent for most people. We need to support dash cam manufacturers that upload video to an external source. That would be a great deterrent. Philip says it happened in the morning. And I believe they said early Sunday morning, which is usually, usually when they say stuff like that in the news, they mean like 2, 3, 4 a.m. And Stephanie, unfortunately, no, the baby did not survive. So this passenger actually, murdered 2 people, right? The driver and the passenger. I mean, I guess I would say, I don't know, it's a good thing, but one of the, I guess, the nice thing is that since this ride did happen on the Lyft app, they were, and the passenger stole the Lyft driver's car after he stabbed her. They were able to track him down and catch him really quickly. So I guess at least he was caught. Jason says, what the hell, man? Yeah, I know, it's really definitely pretty crazy. Jason says, is there a dash cam that streams to a server? Yeah, you can steal the cam as well. We just reviewed the Owl dash cam and did a little giveaway there. So that could be very cool. Keith says, rideshare driver Dustin has started something to donate to the family. We should all help, even if it's $1 from all of us. I think that's a great idea. As soon as I get off of this, Keith, I'm going to, I'll text Dustin and see if he's got a link, or maybe if he sees me going live, he can hop on here and share a link in the comments, and I'll make sure to pin that comment, because if, there's some type of GoFundMe for this family or something like that, I would gladly support that, and I would hope that, my viewers can, even if it's $1 or $2 or $5, I think that could really be big. So Leslie, I don't know what the donation link is right now, but I'll make sure I get with Dustin and come back to this video, and I'll make sure I pin the comment or leave it in the description so you guys can take a look at that. I guess as far as, why it matters for drivers, like safety is a big issue for drivers. MB says that's why I carry. Definitely. So the crazy thing is that carrying weapons like guns is actually against Uber and Lyft's terms of service. But I think, what I always tell drivers is you sort of have to decide. Getting deactivated from Uber or Lyft is one thing, but getting deactivated from life is another. So, you gotta have to decide what's more important to you, Uber and Lyft's terms of service or your safety. And I would always say that your personal safety comes first. So do whatever you need to do, within the law. Uber's and Lyft's terms of service are not the law. I follow the law and not Uber and Lyft's terms of service. So Rideshare Genius says Lyft should be making a huge donation. Wonder if that would ever happen. Yeah, I would gladly, once we get this link, I'll gladly tweet out to some people at Lyft and ask them to donate. Mr. 5 Stars says, tips on what would you do to avoid potentially bad riders? How can one not profile riders? I personally don't pick up intoxicated passengers. I think you definitely, I've had some of my best passengers in honestly like areas of LA that have maybe seemed a little more shady or, not been as nice. And I don't think it's necessarily like certain people that you want to profile, but if you aren't as comfortable driving at night, you do have the option of driving the day. A lot of these incidents do happen at night. So if safety is a big concern for you, of course, anything can happen during the day or the night, but I think there's a pretty clear correlation to bad things happening at night. So definitely keep that in mind. Saturn 60 says, every rideshare driver should carry mace. And, I think that non-lethal weapons are a good idea in your car. We actually interviewed a safety expert on my podcast. I believe his name was Bo something. I'll leave a link in the show notes, but he recommended not carrying pepper spray or mace because it's not a good tool to use in a confined space like a car, which I think makes a lot of sense. So I think a taser is a better option. Stephanie says someone should make a security app for drivers and that someone is watching our dash cams or something like that. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. For example, like I have Simply Safe security system, and if the alarm goes off, I've got an interior camera in my house that they can access if the alarm goes off, and they can sort of see what's going down in the house. So I think anything like a panic button or something like that could definitely, be useful. GTC Storm says all passengers need to have an account so we know who's getting into the car. Maybe violent felons should be banned. But Uber and Lyft won't want to do those background checks. So that brings up an interesting question. I saw a lot of comments about this from drivers what do you guys think of it? Obviously drivers have to undergo background checks, but what do you think about passengers undergoing background checks? Now, I don't know if this is something Uber and Lyft would ever seriously consider, but just because, it's such a huge, barrier. I mean, I bet a lot of people may not sign up for the services, but at the same time, I think it would definitely make things safer, right? Of course, if everyone has to do a background check, that would definitely make things safer. So I'm curious to know what you guys think about that. Jason says, so this guy killed her and the baby to steal her car. I wonder if he had a history of bad ratings or other trips. Was this his first ride? Any signs to look for to warn you of this? I think Jason, that's a scary thing for me, is like, it seemed like, we'll get more information and maybe I'll do a follow-up video on this, but it seemed like this was just like any other ride. I mean, it was late night and it was like a normal looking young dude, and, she picked him up like any other ride, and, it obviously things went horribly wrong. So, we'll see what happens here. Rideshare Hub says he's looking for the donation link from Dustin and can't find it. He might start a GoFundMe. Yeah, just let me know. Of course, like sometimes people try to take advantage of these GoFundMes, so we just want to make sure it's the legit link, and we can verify that pretty easily. But yeah, let me know. Cedric says yes, background check on them. Seth says hell yes to passenger background checks. We have no idea who is sitting behind us. So I've got a few more minutes that I can chat right here, but Dave the Uber Slave, another good YouTuber here in LA, says, does anybody believe Dara, or he says Dora the Explorer, but I'm assuming you mean Dara, is making safety a priority? Now, Dara, the Uber CEO, has talked a lot about safety, and to the Uber's credit, I've seen them add some small things. So you guys may have noticed in the new driver app, you can now share your location with a friend or family member while you're driving. And this is a feature I highly recommend. If you're on iPhone, they've got the Find Friends app, which I use with my wife. And when I'm driving for Uber, I turn on the share location just as like a backup. So I definitely recommend that if you've got a spouse or a loved one who kind of, wants to make sure you feel safe. But that doesn't do anything to prevent, passengers don't know that that's on. So again, it doesn't do anything to prevent bad passenger behavior. And that's where I think that dash cam, I don't know, carrying weapons is one thing, but I don't know that there's, a better solution to prevent bad passenger behavior that you can do today than a dash cam. So Mary Catherine says, at the very least, we should have access to a profile photo of our passenger at the time of the request. And yeah, Mary, I agree with you. I think that this story kind of brings up a lot of these bigger issues. It would just make us as drivers feel safe, right? When you go and pick someone up and it's not the person, it's like, oh, my friend called the ride, or you're expecting, James, and a girl shows up, or vice versa. Like that always just kind of makes me feel a little weird. So I think that there's definitely some things some features they can actually build into the app. Like, hey, if you're going to call a ride for a friend, you should, maybe that passenger's profile needs to be linked. Moises says, very sad news. May she rest in peace. Totally agree. Dave says, we should see our passenger's picture. Mr. John Craig says, post an NRA sticker next to, this car has a recording device so passengers know that you're carrying. And frankly, like I've talked to a lot of rideshare drivers. I personally don't own a gun, but I'll be honest, I've talked to a lot of rideshare drivers who do own guns and who do carry them while they're driving. So, like I said, it's against Uber and Lyft's terms of service, but, what I would say is your personal safety comes first. And, I think one of the better solutions is kind of like a dash cam and, maybe something non-lethal like a taser. That's, if I feel somewhat fortunate though, because I'm 6'3", I'm 200 pounds, I'm a male. Like there's not too many people that, there's not too many people that would kind of mess with me, although I definitely have been messed with, but yeah, so Rideshare Genius says they won't make profile photos mandatory because people will claim profiling discrimination. So I think they could always do it, like 1 minute out, as you're approaching the passenger or the pickup point to avoid the discrimination type issues. Scalar97 says, in the 80s, killing taxi. Sorry, I just got a phone call. Hopefully that didn't mess up the stream. Honestly, when you look at the statistics of what it's like to be a taxi driver, it is a dangerous gig. And so it is important to take safety precautions. And I definitely, the whole point of this video was to, kind of basically educate drivers about some of the options and just understand like, hey, the realistic nature of this job. I mean, I don't want to scare you guys because there are millions of trips that happen on the Uber and Lyft apps every day, and things go off without a hitch. So it's not like the odds of something happening are very, very low, but we do see these stories from time to time, and shit does happen, bad stuff does happen. So I want you guys to be safe out there. I want you guys to be protected. Yeah, I agree. I saw a comment. Someone said, "Don't pick up a certain race." I'll probably delete that comment later, but that's totally not what I'm recommended. So hopefully this video was helpful for you guys. And just again, it was kind of a sad story, a very sad story. So I wanted to bring it to your attention. And if you guys do have any comments, don't hesitate to reach out below. I'll look for that GoFundMe link and share it. I'll get with Dustin. So hopefully you guys stay safe out there. And if you guys did enjoy this YouTube live, I'm going to try and do these